Hey, welcome back everyone to my Murphy table. Today we're going to take a look at a model that I picked up. It's actually a two model set. I got these to go with Battle Group Kursk. Actually they could play with any war game, but specifically I wanted these with Battle Group Kursk. The only problem is I didn't read the rules as thoroughly as I should have when I was looking through the army lists, because the IS2 did not participate in, well, they say here JS, but the JS IS2 didn't participate in Kursk. It came out after Kursk. Anyway, after some Wikipedia reading, so on and so forth, it was like, oh, well, I have it anyway. So when I play Battlegroup Kursk, I'll just have to proxy this as like a KV1E or something like that until I get some stuff. But the good news is, when I move on to like Fall of the Reich, I'll have my IS2s ready to go. So other than the fact that I got the wrong model for the wrong period of time, we want to take a look at, is this a good purchase anyway? You know, how does this compare to the other models that you can get from Pegasus Hobbies? So this is from Pegasus Hobbies, and this model kit, I did get two of their Panther kits, and I think I've shown the Panther kits off in a previous video. So we'll just talk about this all on its own. So I've already put one together. So what you see in the box, I'll have to clear it out just a little bit, but I already put one together so you could see kind of a one on the sprue and then one off of the sprue, and we'll talk about it. So when you get the box, it's a modest sized box. The instructions that you get, these, I mean, they're okay. They're good instructions. I had to say, this was one of the sore points I had with the Zvezda model kits. No, not Zvezda. The Robotech. Robotech RPG Tactics. I like that game a lot. The models were a pain to put together because the simple printed instructions didn't include a numbered diagram that matched up with the parts on the sprue. So I was putting together all these robots that I just had to guess where pieces went. And if you've spent any time looking at that game, trying to put stuff together, they actually put out diagrams that they made later after the game went to print and came out that did include the numbers. So when you put together a model kit, having everything labeled and numbered is a huge advantage. I'm sure you could, for the most part, go just off the pictures and the diagrams to put this thing together, but having things numbered really helps. So these instructions are not terrible at all. They actually got the job done. So let's take a look at the sprues. So I have here, this is one of the empty sprues. This isn't too bad. The sprue itself isn't too bad, and the plastic, it feels like standard model plastic. It felt a little softer than some of the hard plastics that I've used and made models with, but it was acceptable. So you don't want to see an empty sprue, so I got two empty sprues. So the tank itself does come on two sprues. Now when I got my packaging and opened it up, I don't know if they did it on purpose or if it broke off, but the bottom holes each were separate. They still had the attachment here, like where they did connect to a sprue, but they were floating in the box, so they weren't really attached. And then when I got this in the mail and it was all, you know, boxed in, there's actually a bulge here because the model didn't fit properly. It actually, the pieces were like just too big, and so they didn't fit flush with the box. So just, you know, be aware that either mine just kind of got bumped around in shipping, or possibly it just doesn't quite fit in the box right. But luckily everything was still functional. There was nothing like actually broke, so, you know, possibly just a couple of things came off unsettled in the shipping. So when you get your sprue, it says, I was reading here on the box, it said it's like 44 parts per tank. So this puts it more towards a scale model kit than like a fast build miniature wargame kit. So you can get stuff from like Plastic Soldier Company that look great but are a lot fewer pieces to put together, which isn't bad. I mean, this isn't terrible. So it's not quite like a Tamiya kit where you have like 100 pieces or more. So this just fits somewhere in between a model kit and a wargaming kit. The fact that there's two that come in here makes me think this was, you know, more towards the wargaming aspect than a modeler kit. So it works. And one good thing is a lot of the parts, they don't have a whole bunch of sprue connections. So I know when I put some Zvezda kits together, it felt like there was connection points everywhere. And every time I separated from the sprue, there was just one other connection point to try and sand down and make look pretty. And that was one thing that I noticed with this kit here. You have to be careful. Some of the parts that get poured, they're really thin. Like right here over the gun mantlet, it's really thin, and you can see light through it really well. So you gotta be careful when you're trying to kind of shave things down to make it look pretty, you know, get rid of some of the excess plastic. But I will say that is one good thing. There's not a whole lot of flash. Like right here at the tip of the gun barrel, you probably can't see it very well here, but there is just a little bit of flash on the edge of that gun barrel. So that's not so bad. Cleanup was pretty easy. Mostly I just took my plastic snips and, you know, just cut the piece, then used my X-Acto knife just to clean it up a little bit. But overall, the parts came off pretty well. Even the really small fiddly parts, they didn't break. Everything held together, which is good because I have put together some smaller kits that, you know, you're trying to get these little really thin detailed plastic parts to come off, and even though you're trying to be real careful, they still break, or I'm just rough, I don't know. But anyway, that's the first sprue. It's the upper hole, the turret comes in two parts, and then your barrel. This was nice too, just to point out the barrel. The barrel is one piece. I've done plenty of kits where the barrel comes in two parts and then you just have like a huge gap running down the length of the barrel. This just kind of trim it up and get some of the plastic edging off, and then everything fits together really nice. It does include a couple extra little pieces, like there's a big wood saw, there's a shovel. It's really good, actually. We won't cover every single part on there, but it does come with some little extras. The track, this is always my sore point on model kits. The tracks always irritate me. Much like the Zvezda, this has a whole bunch of connection points from where it connects to the sprue, and that's always irritated me because that means I have to spend extra time trying to clean up these tracks. Fortunately, the connection points are on some of the links themselves, so it's not like in between the track links, it's on a link. So as you're trimming things up, even if you kind of leave it a little bit rough, it's probably going to be covered by the tank or be on the bottom where you're not really looking at the tank. These ones on the ends you want to clear up as much as possible, but it's not that bad because it's not in between the links like with some of my Zvezda models. And as you can see, then the tracks have, you know, some of the wheels and different things. You do have to put some of the outside road wheels on, and those do have a little bit of flash to clean up. Then you can see we've also got some hooks, the barrel lock for traveling. It's got a nice big machine gun. You know, some other parts of the wheels there. I know it all has technical names I can never remember, and I forget who it was. I think it was Tactical Jackalope, a modeler. I can't remember who it was now, but they sent me a post that had an explanation of what all these different tank parts are that I keep getting wrong in the name. So this actually wasn't that difficult. I spent a little extra time because I want to, you know, cut it from the sprue and then trim it up. The only thing that was difficult is on the road wheels, there's a hole in the spokes, and then one hole that's a little bit larger than the other. On the front here of the track, I'm hoping you can see it. It's on this side. On the bottom of the wheels, which would be the top here, maybe if I flip it. Anyway, there's a little, well, if you look here, like on this middle one, at the bottom there's a little nub that sticks out, and that nub is going to fit in the hole here. You can almost see one of these holes is a little bit bigger than the others. And there's one road wheel where the hole kind of comes to the front and then the rest are on the bottom, and that helps you place the road wheel properly to get these arms here, these shock absorbers, at their proper angle. Because when you attach these assembled tracks to this bottom hull, you're going to see right in here there's holes where all those shock absorbers line up. And so that was nice. So knowing that I had to get everything into them holes, the fact that they included a little guide and nubs and different things just really helped everything line up. I only had to use my hobby knife to get in to adjust things just a little bit to make everything fit, and I'll show you how that looks on the finished product. So overall, not a terrible kit, not much that I had to clean up. I think this was better than their Panther kit that I purchased, and I'll show you why I like it over the Panther kit. So first, let's move this out of the way, and we'll take a look here at the finished tank. So I can't reach my zoom button, so maybe I can. Let's see. And we'll let the focus come in. Awesome. So this is what it looks like, top view. Here's your side views. I think this is a great little kit, and here's what I really liked about it. The Panther, when you put it together on the turret, the gun, it was pretty much just in place. You couldn't really, you could spin the turret. That was about it. This, I can still raise the barrel up and down. Even after I paint it, this is still going to be fantastic. I know some folks like to magnetize everything, and on their Panther kit, I would have magnetized that barrel. I've just never really gotten into the whole magnetizing thing. I'm still kind of new to some of this, but this I thought was fun. Even though in a real game I probably won't fiddle with this too much, the fact that I can, I just like to fiddle. And then the machine gun, my wife was like, well, why didn't you glue that in? Well, because after I paint it and stuff, it's still kind of cool that you can rotate it. Once I start painting it though, the paint might glue it into place. So I'll just have to pick a position that I'm happy with it, leave it painted up, and then, I don't know, I just like little things like that. Of course, that just means it's something that will get broke real easy because it's a really tiny connection where it hooks onto the turret. But let's take a look here. I zoomed in so you can look at it. I think this is a really cool looking kit, really. And here's where the tracks, and so I don't have my hobby knife, but here's where the shock absorbers are. Maybe I can tilt it that way, but it's hard to see. But I just had to stick my hobby knife down in there and just I only had to move like maybe 1 or 2 of those shock absorber pegs to get into the connection holes to hold it in place, and then just kind of put a little glue in every spot to help hold that secure. Here's the travel lock on the back. This has pretty good detail. I mean, even if you get kind of up close to it here as we focus in, you'll see it's got engine compartment plating. Here's the grating over the engine. This is nice. It's got little handles here, and I'm not sure if those are supposed to be like stowage handles or if that's the handles tank riders would hold on to. I don't know. So for those who know tanks, you'll know exactly what that is. The 2-piece hull actually fit together pretty well. I don't use filler putty or anything like that. This is I left this unpainted and untouched up in any way, just so you could kind of see how the plastic parts fit together. And this doesn't fit too bad. I kind of glued it as best as I could right along this line. In fact, that weld line looks like the pictures I've seen on the internet where like the whole pieces were welded together. So they did a good job in putting this and making it fit where it should. I mean, obviously here at the front, you can see where it's been glued together, but I'm hoping after I paint and weather it up, some of those connection points will be covered up a little bit. This is included. It's got like the headlight and a horn, so it has like little extras that you can stick on. I'm not sure, there was this little box right here that you had to put on. I'm not really sure what that was supposed to represent. I know on American tanks they had a little box on the back of some of the tanks which had a communication to the command team and like to the tank crew inside, so they could speak with them and coordinate their efforts. I don't think that that's a communication box, probably just like a tool storage box, but it would be cool if that was like a little telephone thing. Although that doesn't offer you much protection if you're on the side of the tank getting shot at to talk to the crew inside. But anyway, what I thought were fuel tanks. Now, these could be fuel tanks, but from what I was reading on the internet, these are storage containers for the crew. And so for me, that was interesting because on my T-34s, I have virtually the identical looking containers that I thought were fuel. So I may have been sticking fuel containers on my tanks that weren't fuel containers and maybe putting stuff in the wrong place. But the model kit made it very clear how these fit. So everything fits together very nicely. And the details on it are not too bad. So here's your top-down view again. It's actually, I was very impressed. It's a very good kit. Compared to the Panther kit, like I mentioned, this definitely fit together so much nicer. I had to do some guesswork on their Panther kits, but this is great. So size comparison. This is a 1/72 scale or 20 millimeter scale. And here I have a Tiger 1 for comparison. We'll just zoom out a little bit for you. And I was surprised with the size. The Tiger is usually recognized as being one of the biggest tanks of the the early years on the Eastern Front. And it is definitely big. It's definitely taller than some of the other tanks. It has a larger turret than a lot of the other tanks. And then I was always imagining that like the IS2 would have been on the same size. And actually they are very similar. I think the Tiger turns out to be a little bit wider. I mean, just ever so slightly wider. But the length, they're both similarly sized. Although I will say that the IS2 is just a little bit longer. But one thing that I did notice is it still has the IS2 still has a lower silhouette than the Tiger. So I'm not sure if I can put these here. And when I was reading Wikipedia, because Wikipedia is never wrong. Yeah, this doesn't really do justice as showing you the overall silhouette heights. But you can tell though, like where the turret, the IS2 rides a little bit lower still. And Wikipedia, in all of its wisdom, said that that's on purpose. The Soviets make slightly smaller tanks just because they're easier to transport, fit through their tunnels, so on and so forth. Whereas, you get like to the Tiger, these early war tanks, that was before people really, put an emphasis on silhouette size and transportation. They just wanted a huge tank. Well, the Soviets want a huge, heavy breakthrough tank, but they also wanted to make sure that they could transport it. And so this kind of combines, low silhouette, great speed, firepower. There's a lot of people that say this was the best tank of the war. Sure, the T-34 is popular, Panzers, the Panther, that's arguably the best war of the tank. The T-34, arguably best war. There's good qualities about all of the popular tanks. The Shermans, even the Tiger and Tiger 2 have a lot of fans. But it seems that this one here was really good. This is a really good tank, the IS-2. So if you are playing some middle to late war games, this is definitely not a bad one to add to your collection. And if you're not sure where to purchase some of these, you could go find some Pegasus Hobbies, grab a couple of these. This was about $15 for the kit, which included the 2 models. That's not a terrible price, and it does look pretty good. And once you paint it up, weather it, I think it'll be a great addition to your collection. So, your turret still turns. Not a bad deal. So when we come back, we've got some other kit to look at, and then some other things that I've done to kind of enhance my playing enjoyment of Battle Group Kursk. So stay tuned and you'll see some more great stuff. Thanks a lot. Bye.